Hey, you guys. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be switching that one up. I'm now like triggered by the sound of like, hey guys, how's it going? I'm just like another YouTube vlogger, which is true. And yet someone who's a little bit aware of language and creation, so-called quote unquote spirituality, mumbo jumbo, whatever that is. Aspects of our culture, aspects of our, constructed reality. We have like the spiritual bit, we have the spiritual people, we have the sporty people, we have the political people. So yeah, we kind of like divide ourselves up and divide and conquer. It's a tactic that is clever when it comes to dominating people and controlling people. So this is sort of like the paradigm shift, and what we're out working as a collective is like not controlling each other and being honest with ourselves and one another about how we feel, and then going deeper into how we relate and operate on this planet. So there's like this monumental global paradigm shift actually happening on the planet, and it's always like predestined via the Aquarian age and like the planetary alignments. And like, imagine the planets are like us beings, and they're like, hey guys, like, should you do this? And like, yeah, let's go do that. And so like the planets themselves are going through their own transformation and awakening, and we as beings as well are just along for the ride. That's where I'm going with this stuff anyway. You guys don't have to. In fact, I would encourage it. You don't have to think like I think. Think how you want to think, So I had a bit of a fiasco this morning. I like spilt my coffee everywhere. Happens about every 6 months. It seems to be that I'm dibble dabbling about. Hi Jessica, how are you, my friend? Yeah, and like I do stuff, and then the coffee falls. Either an occasion all over the bed, which is super fun. And then this morning, not all over the bed. It like splashed all over the wall and like down on the floor. But don't worry, you guys. I sorted it out. I managed to make it work for me. So today's share, what came through was along the lines of authenticity and freedom. And they're totally intertwined, in my opinion. You can't access your freedom state without embodying your authenticity, without being who you truly are. Because to me, that's like the only true freedom. The only true freedom is you knowing the self and being the self and living the self. And then you're like, oh my God, this feels like freedom. And you're like, yeah, it totally is. It's like your soul knows stuff. Imagine that. Right. And it's like, again, the conditions of the world would have us all not have a soul and like be like, no, you're not supposed to feel and imagine and daydream and believe that you're worthy. No, you're supposed to work. Just work. And I think more and more on this quantum manifestation path are like, oh yeah, that's definitely not like the way for us as a humanity. You are the source. You are in your essence. You are quantum manifestation. This is like the elixir point of the divine spark of knowing from within the self, is that we are all that we see, and that's the part of non-duality, or you could even say non-judgment, is that we're not holding grievance against one another, because the truth is we are all one. And so we're all teaching and reflecting and showing and sharing and shining for one another. So again, this to me is the noodling and like the inner work and the self-reflection. It's that nobody can dictate to you your own inner work. You're the only one that really can assess the self via the self, because you're the only one that's meant to be living your life. So it's in breaking free from those restrictive conditions of thinking that we're meant to abide by like the world. So it's like this idea of like we're supposed, like you're gonna end up homeless on the street unless you do what you're told, unless you fulfill your parents' dreams. Now we know that that's not like the legit truth, and yet we feel bound to the old patterns. And that again is part of more and more and more of us endeavoring the manifestation path, and then sharing the journey with you, because it would appear that there's a few different layers and ways of perceiving this process that humanity is living through. because the reality, the way I feel into it is like legit. If one's beingness, i.e. the body's capacity for a lifetime, if they're gonna continue to vibrate on a certain frequency, they'll have to recycle, like they'll have to reincarnate, right? So there is an essence, and when you are really in that quantum field, that's like you in your infinity self, that's like you in your eternal self. And so when you're more aligned with like the eternity self, you're not so like holding on to life, nor stuff, nor relationships, nor anything, because then you align with the fact that everyone else is also totally eternal cosmic traveling beings who are still just under veils of forgetfulness, i.e. they're still attached to the identity that they've created for themselves, whether it's a victim, whether it's a businessman, whether it's a jock, a politician, you know, like we're playing these games in life. We're playing, and we're the stars. We're the actors, right? Who I was talking to Divine Sight about that, I'm sure. Like when we play in the movie, when we maybe when you're little or maybe last week, listening to music and in your imagination you're like in a movie. I would often have chasing movies, like where I'd see something and I'd be like, ah, and then like the boogeyman, like the murderers would see me and I'd be like, no! And like go on this massive like running adventure, but I'd be acting it out again, like the introvert. I'd just be acting out all of these movies in my head for hours and hours and hours, just playing. And I want to sort of jump into like, why is authenticity the thing right now as well? And it's because whenever there's this sort of grand revolution or monumental change, there's always this sort of backlash, resistant energy. And so we are, and this is part of a lot of us experiencing deeper cycles and learning around the human condition and narcissism, so that we really do lift the veil. We really do. You guys, I gotta say, like, I'm so thankful not to be in those like empathic guilt patterns, people pleasing patterns. It's weird to me how just like when you come around the outside and then sometimes you feel the pull, like even recently having again just kind of risen up and like, you know, I'm not responsible for you if you want my time and da da da, and then literally it just drops off. Like, and that's another thing for the empath as a reflection. When you truly step into your power, the people who are meant for you will continue to show up. If somebody's manipulating you or if somebody's not fully aligned with you, if you truly step into your power and they're not in alignment, you'll never hear from them again. And or you'll have the integrity and power to just stay in your integrity and power, and so you don't attract that narcissistic energy because you're not in your disempowered state. I.e., the only reason an empath attracts the narcissistic behavior is because we're in need. You know, the times in my life where I had these huge lessons were like poverty, homelessness, like having nothing and just be like, can you help me? Please, I'll do anything. Oh, it's so nice, right? La. Right? And I mean, it's not because I'm not wanting to judge self or other, but like, and then other, because of their wound, is like, haha, sweet, ooh, nice, this person makes me feel nice, or they, ooh, great, they can do this, that, and the other for me, ooh, great, they can keep me company, ooh, great, da da da, and then inevitably, you're actually just triggering each other's wounding until it pops off, or one of you learns the karmic lesson. Because what I'm aware of is like, for me, I'm consciously breaking patterns and have been doing not my whole life consciously, but I know now that that's part of my function. And then having done it consciously over the last like 7 years, that's why the book came through, is because it was like, this is an actual function of transformation. And then I'm fully aware that certain people that I've broken free from, like they would very likely, although it's not my job, but I'm just aware of this, where people would then just, so like people that I broke free from, the way they just sort of like cut me out in that regard and then spread rumors, I'm just aware that I'm like, oh my God, they're just gonna find another me. As in that's often in romantic relationships what happens, that when the narcissist is like breaking up, or when you're not like feeding their narcissism anymore, they'll just replace you. Like, and you won't even know what happened. You'll just be like, what? sorry, and you'll be like, yeah. And I've done that too. In my fear, in my desperation, in my seeking, in my ungroundedness, I've also exhibited the same behavior as the narcissist, which is why I find personally, it's good to noodle with this stuff and talk about it, ideally from a non-reactive place. And increasingly what I'm aware of, even in the world of academia, is that people are not having dialogue. They're not having intelligent, open-hearted conversation because they're in reactivity. Because everybody's trying to defend their rightness and to defend their own fucking ego, which really just wants to fit into some place in a society that's already sick and dying. So it's like, hold on, I just saw a comment there. Jessica, hey, cool. Just started listening to the book. Awesome. I'm so thankful for the Audible. Actually, I did the Audible with an old friend of mine, and yeah, I'm just really glad. I'm really glad I did that. It's been actually the best seller, which it makes sense. Zero waste consciousness. People are buying less hard copy books, I guess, and listening more. I like listening to audio as well, audiobooks and stories and stuff, sometimes in lieu of music when I'm driving. Although, as you guys know, I've not necessarily been that tuned into externals, other than a bit of light entertainment via the tarot. And then, oh, I love how cool is life. So you guys know I started doing these tarot readings, pure intuition guidance, just like happening. And then being like, wait a minute, I know this. Just like when I did my yoga journey, I just started being asked to teach before any, whatevs. And like, so yeah, the tarot, and I don't know, I can't even remember now. It must have been like end of June. So it's been like a week, and I did like the first, just like, hey guys, I'm doing tarot, and I've pretty much had bookings every day since then. So I'm really, really thankful. And like, just my heart, love, gratitude, humility, like appreciation to the divine universes of like, MJ had some big turning points, and the support and being able to offer these services and then have such positive feedback from you guys has been like juicy. Hardcore juicy, because it makes my heart feel more peaceful. And then it's angling again. I never saw the tarot, and weirdly yesterday I'm aware of how, yeah, other people, I'm just so not there anymore, but I kind of forget that other people like judge it or like, yeah. Anywho, I'm not even gonna think about that. I'm just like super duper happy. Juicy. I'm super happy to be playing with the tarot because I find it fascinating. And the biggest like little leap was that you can't people please with tarot. The cards force you to really address like the legit situation. And I think for me that's really helpful transitioning, increasing that delivery of messaging and honoring that as I continue to evolve the coaching stuff, because I'm definitely that is a huge thing of being able to step in and address those intuitions, right? And that's part of the reason I'm having to make this big leap, is that in true service to the world. And that the polarity is so obvious, and any of you endeavoring this online coaching stuff, I can tell you firmly 100%, people are only serious when they buy from you. And I have all those things that I've worked out when it comes to money and manifestation and da-da-da-da. But it is just that clear to me that people are ready and willing to work with you when they're ready and willing to work. But if there isn't that financial investment, if there isn't that commitment, and like you guys show up every day, there is a commitment, right? But if you were wanting my time or being like, hey, we should do this or we should do this, and I'm like, no, I'm doing me, you do you, right? And then we can both do one another and then reflect each other and share and shine for one another. But having people kind of like say stuff and then and then you find yourself putting a lot of effort and time and energy into something, and you're like, wait a minute. So there's just the discernment for the empath around not feeding the old wounds of like feeling bad for people or feeling guilty, and realizing that if people really, 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 really want to change, if they really, just because we all get this, like, nobody held my hand. Nobody sat my ass down on my yoga mat every single fucking day for 10 years. That was me doing that because I had to change. And I knew that no Prince Charming was coming to give me money to change, that and that nobody was going to do this yoga for me. Nobody was going to go inside and fix me. I had to do all of that from within the self, and invest in myself. When I was making money as a yoga teacher, I spent thousands and thousands of pounds working with healers, doing healing courses, going to A-Fest, you know, continual that development. So this whole paradigm shift, us thinking that we're just gonna get it all, is the quick fix, distorted veil of the system. The Prince Charming, the stardom, the quick fix, the international success overnight. That is an illusion created to smoke and mirrors all of us, to keep us slaves, to keep us working. Just work hard, just keep working hard, and then one day you're good. Now there is legitimate truth in that, but when it comes to actually living and unfolding and expanding your dreams, the depth and the expanse and the awareness and the subtlety that it requires, I believe, is way deeper, way more profound than a lot of what we're getting out there. And yeah, we're getting more, but from my journey through that spiritual rabbit hole of the internet, I'm even more aware of the subtleties of covert manipulation going on in the media, whether conscious or unconscious. We can all exhibit it. So a lot of, say, for example, what we would call spiritual teachers, they're still, in my feedback resonance, they're still just regurgitating information. Whether it's information they're absorbing on the internet, whether it's information they're downloading via different channels or their own teachers or what have you, there's still a veil of mental distortion disconnected from the heart space, because they're still operating from ego. They're still operating from, I want to be recognized, I need to be important, I need to be right, I need to do that. Whether they call it a spiritual teacher, a lawyer, a teacher, whatever. You know, ego is ego, and it's subtle the way we miss it. And we all have blind spots. We all have blind spots. That's why I teach what I teach, is that you don't need to go out there to find healing. The healing is in the here now present states, by owning and transforming all of the density that you feel and pick up inside you in this moment from your field. That's the depth of responsibility, is that we don't need to seek externally for the self. The self is in the here now, in the fullness of your total creation. The depth of that, though, is where most people have cognitive dissonance, which is why we have it in, it would appear, a process. You know, Abraham Hicks talks about this as well. We do like a process, it would appear. And I don't want to preach dogma. I'm not saying like the Fearless Life Guide is the almighty one process for all. I'm saying it is a technique for somebody who's never necessarily had hundreds of thousands of pounds to invest in her spiritual and healing journey. It's always been kind of a tight budget. So, you know, I've always saved. I was really, really, really lucky to have $3,000 saved up after double hustling, like doing 6-7 days a week teaching yoga and working at the retreat and writing websites for people. Like, I was double hustling more than I'd ever double hustled before, and I finally had enough money to invest in myself, and I invested. You know, and it does make a difference, but it was capped, and then this whole next level transformation started to happen because of the work and the way I was looking at manifestation. It was like, right, let's go next level. Like, how weird. The next level is just more peaceful, more happy in myself. My working life doesn't look like what I thought it was looking like, but it's better. It's better that it's less difficult, and as far as like efforting. Because now I'm riding in the wave of, I just get to be myself and have everything that I desire and live my dreams and be supported by friends and people in the world who understand what I'm saying from a heart level, having dialogue, having open-hearted discussion, from an understanding that we are the healed state, from an understanding that we are the divine Christ, from an understanding that we are the all-powerful gods of this fucking universe, you know, and that we don't need to buy in to an illusion, and certainly not a system of control and domination. Not when we already accept that we are that too. You know, been there, done that, very nice, love the show, maybe not, it was kind of painful, now off we go. You know, off we go to shed and continue to shed the residue of our past projections as a collective on this planet. The earth is encouraging us to do so. The entire cosmos, everyone's around for the show, you guys, you know, even the people that so-called controller energy, it's all a fascination. It's all an open portal of expansion for the entire universal order. So all of the divinity, all of the life unfolding here is always expanding and contracting and releasing and opening and expressing. You know, we're not unique in that regard. That's part of the dissolving of the ego construct. That's why it's fucked up and weird, the ego, the human ego in the 3D reality, because it's so limited. It's so disempowered. Even in its, I'm powerful, you're like you think you're powerful, and the thinking is actually giving you a perception of power, but the power is actually domination, because you're actually coming from a deeply disempowered place. You're coming from a deeply limited place of, I'm scared to die because I fear and I think I'm limited. And like, actually, and because you're so afraid that you've got all these masks to try to cover up all your fear, and then you act from that fear, hence domination and control. Hence, like, the awareness of the empath to feel into people's energy body. For example, intuitively feeling into someone like Donald Trump, you can feel the wounded child in him. You can feel and see it, actually, if you're highly sensitive like me. You can see the child, the traumatized child, ultimately, right? I love freedom. I love having the freedom to choose in my mind what my state of being is. I love having the freedom to like shine down and literally just stand in my own true power and not be affected by people's comments, not being affected by people's nasty looks anymore, not being affected by people's meanness, not being affected by people's covert fucking jealousy, not being affected by people's dropping me or abandoning me or rejecting me. It's just true freedom. And that is the ultimate locking into the liberation state of emancipation, is that once you do enough of the inner work within yourself, you do enter regenesis, you do enter the present moment, and there is no going back, because eventually people's random fear and backlash and like wanting to push against you, eventually that just literally bumps right off of you, you know. So it's really nice to have all those different energies here and to witness in the self the non-trigger, like, go be yourself. Because I think the truth is that I'm not here ultimately desiring to take anything, so I don't have to take anything from you, which includes your beliefs, your feelings, your thoughts about you or me. It doesn't matter, because it's all you. Your reality is what you're creating for yourself, and mine is what I'm creating for myself here. And I love my life, and I know where I've been and what I've gone through to get to this point of feeling completely free within the self, and knowing that in any given moment I get to choose whether or not someone dictates to me that I'm free or not. That is not my reality. My reality is what I choose, and yours is what you choose. So it is incredibly powerful, and I'm loving the freedom state of just being able to walk away from certain energies, right? To not be entangled, to not be taken down by other people's distorted mental concepts of what they think I should be doing or saying for them. So yeah, I am truly stepping into this sort of like, there's only the now, there's only authenticity in the self, in the present state of the self, via unconditional love for all the totality of beingness that you are in the container of all of humanity, of all of the universe, of all of the galaxy. You own all of it as the one self. You are a creator of universes, you are a creator of worlds, you are a creator of the essential self, and that is all there is. So you can continue to step into that, to find that regenesis state, but it's all around you all the time, in the here now, in your presence field, and then you just keep walking there. And that's like the timelessness that we are. That's the true eternal state that we are. And these bodies will continue to metamorph and continue to expand and unfold in the beingness that we're projecting into the field. And the more of us that continue to rise, the more of us that continue to rise into that amplified state, the more resonance connection, the more we increase our synchronicities, the more we increase our intuitive gifts and abilities, the more we amplify our psychic and beyond the veil abilities, telepathy, teleportation. We start to yoke the astral realms, and we know that we're bringing that higher consciousness, energy, vibration into the field. This is what we're now really, really stepping into. So that's the regenesis, and that's our function here. We've been doing it all along. Now it's just starting to make manifest. We've been through the lowest of the low now. We've all bottomed out in this community, certainly, like the authentic paradigm shift community here. We've already bottomed out. We've had everything's taken away. You must lose everything you fear to lose, right? So now it gets ripped out. Now we're all essentially in the bifurcation. We're starting to turn around and see the manifestation coming in. So we're just sort of shaking off the residue of old paradigm. Hi, Rochelle. How are you? I've got some notes. I feel like I may have done a share already. But freedom is via earth and the divine connection to earth. Pardon me. So you can see the distortion of like our raping and like stealing and dominating the earth is not freedom. Right? It's actually enslavement. It actually binds us to karma on the planet. Like if we're stealing something, that's negative karma, right? So there's a negative entanglement via the earthling. There's a distorted, it's malaligned, right? It's like, it's not in unity. So we're essentially, the beingness of earth is coming into greater alignment with higher vibrations. That's all. And so we're aligning ourselves with those higher vibrations, which in our human mind looks like just being more loving and compassionate, like just looking after each other in the planet rather than destroying each other. So it's just, do you think we could work it out, guys? Please just be nice to each other. Like, you don't have to like me, but practice not spitting venom mentally. Like, or if we get triggered by one another, like I talked to you guys about like 2 weeks ago, seeing some lovely chica and I proper had jealousy. I was like, damn her, because I'm like premenstrual and feeling like shit. But it's about being able to address and share and express those uncomfortable feelings, those uncomfortable, like, oh my God, that person there again, because we're all fucking reactive. We're all reactive because we're trying to defend these deep, dark core wounds of separation that everybody wants to deny is there. And I'm like, yeah, but the only reason we're able to kill each other and kill the planet is because we're so gosh darn disconnected. And I'm like, connecting in. And those of you who res with me at this point, like the empath community, like we've never not been connected, which is why life has been so you know, and we've got out trying to make everybody happy because all we're so like in the center of the core wound. And most of us have had the awakenings with the awareness of it. So like so many of you guys having had awakenings 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever years ago, you guys are already aligned intuitively with that sense of like how disconnected the humanity is. So it's almost like just one layer deeper of the healing, that the empath community is rising, having bottomed out, and then another layer of the next level of sensitives are going to bottom out and they're going to rise and become more sensitive as well. Because it's like the Wheel of Fortune. It's like you always have to keep bottoming out to keep rising as well. Hello, Megan. How are you? La la la. Gosh, it's already been half an hour. I can't quite believe. Yeah, but the here-ness, there's the thing about time and space is an illusion. There's no here-ness in essence other than the now present state of the beingness that you are. But this is where, again, we get into abstract concepts and thinking. That it's only truth if it's anchored like in your feeling resonance. If there's no feeling resonance, it's not your truth. It's not like aligned with your cosmic origins and or like I guess you could say like your signature frequencies. Like we all have these like, it's like me talking about, I have memory of like my little plasticine world, how I told you guys about that. Like you know, cosmic memories of, yeah, like living in a plasticine world, a two-dimensional reality. Um, loads of cosmic memory as well. Like I've told you this, like I have memory of moving through different universal wormholes, like the really fast, like and then like popping out into another stratosphere and being like, oh hey. I have dreams of galactic wars. Like I have dreams and memories of like driving spaceships and like shooting people, right? So I have like shooting beings, shooting down other ships. You know, I wasn't like shooting innocent beings, but it doesn't matter because in essence we're all innocents and we're all the other, right? So galactic wars, Orion war, like beings and memory. You have memories of being on different star systems. You have memories of creation with other aspects of self, which is darkness and light and everything in between. So yeah, so you just keep unlocking these aspects of self, which then integrate more of your power or more of your like true godliness, but from a placement of peace. Most of us have a connection with the idea of like sovereignty in the guardianship of light and peace in the cosmos. Those of you who resonate with me are feeling it from very much a place of love and compassion. There's nothing, it's not like we're here to like take stuff. We're not here. If anything, there's like such compassion of like the pain that the earth feels when the humanity is disconnected and stealing and raping and pillaging her. So there's a powerful call of a response to a light frequency code, and our beingness here is souls who have just been through experiences in kind of light activation and information. That's all that we are, is either more light filled or less light filled in any given time and cycle in our infinite spiral of life, of an infinite eternal elixir life force. So wherever we are on the journey, we're only ever just expanding and contracting and learning, and that's all beings in every aspect all throughout the infinite cosmos. We're just coming into the remembrance of that divinity, which is so beyond that's why we get cognitive dissonance, and that's why we push back against each other. Fuck you, I don't want to deal with it, right? We push back because it's so profound, it's so deep, it's so intense, and we've been conditioned to such limited linearity that the leap that we're making right now is just a bit like, what sorry, I've been living under a veil, like, and there's so much room for yeah, exactly, we unlearn and learn again, we unlearn, and that's the self. Unlearn externalized learning and relearn via the self, and it's almost like that's just the continual unfolding, but on higher dimensional levels, and or higher and dimensional levels, and or love. Bridget, exactly, you're your own container and you are the creation aspect within the container. There is no separation. This is like where I feel sometimes on the academic or linear or just too logical level, I lose people in abstracting, because in the abstract, like, yeah, there's just no separation. This is part of paradigming new paradigm business. It's like there's no, you guys don't get like, I'm not trying to be like professional or like trying to fit into like the constructs of, I'm aware of them and I can still be working through them because I'm having to be so honest with you, right? And so clear with this biofeedback, right? But in the reality of it, there's just the self. So for me, it's like reflecting back, like we're all reflections of another. If you feel that, you feel that. And if it feels good for you, let's work with it. Let's work with that biofeedback in expanse, in love, in joy, in service, not the other, right? And yet a lot of us have yeah, I'm seeing else thing. A lot of us have tried and failed. But I caught just a tiniest bit of that. Bridget, hey Bridget, hi Lynn, hello. Separation, a grand optical illusion made by us. Right, to integrate and to go through this awakening, right? Because what I get intuitively is that this is a grand, as in, that's how I always come to this space of like no regret, no matter what, all the darkness and the shittiness and the da-da-da, because with each cycle I'm like, yes, yes. And then you remember, you're like, oh my God, we totally did like map it out, like root it out. I remember having dreams of like knowing this was going to be like a weird maze, a weird puzzle, like a weird having to root around and find it. And as I continue to navigate the darkness, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, like we've created this incredible matrix of like, and we've created it with the universal forces, you know, we've created it with the hand of God. This is part of the polarity of duality. It is contained in love. Love is a container, not the other. The dualistic contrast that we perceive in the container is contrast. Fear and love, polarity, right? We need contrast to keep the generation of creation going. And yet, we can, as beings, what we're discovering now in the quanti essence is that we can basically quite firmly live in relation to the container rather than that which we perceive, right? It's almost peeing your pants. Funny. That's making me think about something else about peeing in your pants, but it's embarrassing, but it's something I think girls would get, but maybe boys don't get it as much. Anywho. Keep doing those exercises, right? It's amazing how much creativity, feeling, and action comes from one person alone, even the smallest microbe, for sure, right? We all get it. I know you do. I know, coffee refills. It is like that, you guys. I mean, what time is it? I woke up just after midnight. I went to bed at about 7. It's now 3:25. So, and it's the final countdown. So I am going to Wonderfields next Friday. So it's like a Friday countdown. You guys showed up, represent my life, and have helped me, so my car is fixed. Another friend kind of had to cancel, so I'm not going to Bristol, but I'm thinking that's fine because I've sorted the car with the, you know, YouTube. Sometimes you just need to Google, and then you need a friend to show up and help you sort stuff, and then it gets sorted, and you're like, what? And then they took my car away, and I did all of my like paperwork stuff, so it's all happening. It's all slotting in. Got European. I even like did 3D stuff. Like I got European car insurance to make sure I'm covered in Europe when I like, because I'm driving for like 3 days or 4 days to Portugal. But remember, we make the matrix, yo. This is part of the movement. This is part of paradigm shift. None of us are leading more than anyone else, but the paradigm shift is happening. The paradigm shift representation is van life. People selling off their mortgages, getting vans, tiny home. People that are sacking off big money, big business, corporation, monopoly, and homogenization. So people's intuitive awareness is bringing them back to the land. People's intuitive awareness is breaking them out of systematic jobs of enslavement that don't serve them. Whether they're fully consciously aware of it or not, someone like me and a lot of us have been holding space for this shift for the last 10, 20 years. And we've been intending it. Whether or not it was our specific function to create the van life or to create the land or the retreat or the da-da-da-da, we've been guided via the collective the whole time to have placements in these realms. It's like me ending up at this retreat in Devon. I wasn't, you know, doing yoga training to end up at a place like that. That was where the divine guided me, you know, spending 6 years at this award-winning retreat, being a huge functional part of its service and its product, right? And then learning the lesson, just, you know, 6.5 years later, learning the lessons and going, right, it's time for me to do my own now and do more travel and do even now I'm getting that inspiration of like, it's definitely now happening. Like I'm definitely going to be traveling a lot more and sharing from this space. The regenesis is now, like, I can feel it. It's undeniable because it's been 3 years in the making. And 6 beyond that, but 3 years of intense up level shifting, working, and now you lock into new frequencies. And then as soon as you lock into new frequencies, you can shift it, because you can see that, I call it the frequency jumps in the Fearless Life Guide. The frequency jumps in the Fearless Life Guide is when you endeavor the awakening, transformation, you start doing loads of inner work, and then 3 months or 6 months, or it could be even 3 days. It doesn't have to take long shift stuff. It's just a matter of your intensity and your point of focus. But and I've had this reflected back from clients as well, where like they are going within, they're like, holy shit, it was so weird. I went to this wedding and I saw a group of friends, or blah, 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 and it was like being in the Twilight Zone. It was like being in this completely alternate reality. I'm like, frequency jumps. You've jumped frequency, and so when you go back to an old reality, there's like this surreality of like, huh? Who are you? What is this? It's like, this is your past self. But you've jumped a timeline, and so when you go back to that, it doesn't feel the way it used to feel, because you're not perceiving it the way you used to perceive it. So yeah, we're definitely breaking free from contracts. We're hitting up against the 0 point. What I'm talking about right now, this is the 0 point regenesis, right? This is like, there's nothing else. And you can feel it as well, because there's such depth of the release, but I can feel that I'm not going back to the old patterning, because I can see the old patterning coming up, and I can see myself wanting to go back into it. Yeah. Time loops. Well, yeah, but that's what karma is. That's what this exactly what I'm talking about, my friend, is that I can feel the karma, like I can feel the time loop of my old default setting. For example, guilt. So I've stepped into my power, and I've got guilt coming up around cutting certain people out, or just saying no to some people, or just not responding to some energies, because I'm like, no, that's not healthy for me. No, that doesn't feel good for me. And guess what? If you don't like it, deal with it. But the empath in me feels really guilty, and I have had to reach out to some of you guys for help and assistance to not go back into, I'm sorry, okay, but please like me, oh, blah, 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 huh? Right? But that urge in me has been very strong, i.e. that would have been a time loop for me to go, oh, but I'll blah, blah, huh. But thanks to you guys, and where we are in the quantum leap of manifestation on this planet and binary solar system, we are given the opportunity to not go back into enslavement, into codependency, into covert narcissism, into my guilty patterns, into I'm guilty, therefore I shall just go through another 26,000 fucking years of punishing myself by externalizing my power, rather having the strength, the commitment, and the courage in this lifetime to integrate the power that I am, which in my personal process is feeling to the depth of your emotional body over and over and over and over again. Just keep living and feeling and breathing. And basically own your shit. Own your emotions. If you're feeling something, it's because you're feeling it. No one did it to you, right? But that's also what liberates us from people who are trying to manipulate us and trying to use us, because they don't know what else to do. They don't know how to find that, or they're not there yet. They're just not at that point of regenesis. They're not able to tune into the divine and elixir that point, right? That clearly is something that a lot of us uniquely are here to inspire, to remind people that they are the divine. Most of us have had a fairly prominent connection to divine our whole lives. You know, it's part of our function here. It's part of what we're here to integrate, remember, and remind one another of. And then a lot of us had to work ourselves through the systematic imprint of human conditioning to better understand and also have the codes. So it's like we enslave ourselves and limit ourselves via this realm so that we have the codes to express and shine and share the shedding, the transformational. You know, like if I'd only ever been here all the time, I wouldn't have the teachings in my beingness, right? If I couldn't relate to people about systematic enslavement, if I couldn't relate to people about homelessness and poverty, if I couldn't relate to people about how shitty our fucking education system is, then they wouldn't feel me. You know, like a lot of us don't feel people of extremes. We don't know how to feel and resonate with people that have extraordinary wealth beyond the pale, because most of us have had to fucking struggle. So we don't resonate with the same bracket of people who just do whatever they want all the time because they've never had to worry about that, right? Lack. There's plenty of people that don't have lack. And it's phenomenal. It's incredible vibrashe to be around. And yet at the same time, I'm somebody who, like, that's great to have that amount of like abundance, but sometimes what I pick up on is like this hurty heart, is that there's actually cruelty. There's actually a kind of like disconnected superiority in that level of wealth as well, which I don't personally buy into. I don't think that's healthy. I think that's part of the shape-shifting of the world, is that energy, that kind of level of disconnection and disdain for less than, for lower than, is such a huge disconnect. That's why our world is bottoming out. Because the people that have been accumulating all the resources and pulling it into them are now, that's being squashed out because the earth can't sustain that, right? Power domination via those lower 3 chakras, that's gonna die. That is good. People are gonna have to face their karma, or they're gonna have to reincarnate again. They won't be able to sustain that manipulative tactic anymore. Anyone who's slightly awake or aware, or waking up or aware, is going to know that for certain. That's why we're going to see an increase and a revolution in the economy. People are going to awaken. People of all classes and backgrounds, right? But you imagine certain key figures in their function that have a certain amount of pulling power in the economy, they have an awakening and game's over. This is like a really weird insight, you guys, and I never really do stuff like this, but I keep getting this powerful sense of property crash, housing market crash, and I'm getting a timeline that it's definitely happening in the next like 18 year to 18 months, 2 years at the most, but we're definitely now going into this very, very unstable economy. And those of you that own property, if there's anything inside of you that's maybe getting a bit of an intuition to sell the property, I'm definitely seeing that's probably the right move. The housing market, I'm in the UK, okay, so I'm picking up on the undertones here. Yeah, random. What is that? Just keep living, simply put. Just keep living, simply put. Exactly, Megan. I know. And that's the weirdness of when you disentangle all of your programming from the grid, and then you're like, oh, so I'm just living. You're like, yeah, just keep living. Like, oh yeah, I can just keep living. Right. And so now I'm like, so how do I want to live? Oh, I like yoga. I'm going to go somewhere where I can do yoga, and I can go swim in the sea, and I can be free. And the thing is, like, it's amazing to outwork it to the point that you realize, like, you don't want most of the shit that you were sold anyway, so it's actually not that hard to be free. I love you guys. I mean, hard, what does that even mean? I'm like, I know inside myself. The way I was working was different maybe from how other people were working, but I know what I've been through. I know what I've been noodling and doing inside. And then this is another weird thing that I have a note. I love you. I love you guys so much. There's 2 more notes I just want to express. No more excuses. If you see the shadow, own it. Release the contracts to enslavement. So if any of you are still getting triggered when it comes to finances, when it comes to being able to survive in the world, reach out. We can come up, discern a release contract. Basically, you're going to disengage and dissolve any remaining contracts that you have that are linked to the political system, the government, and the banking systems. Yeah, you have to consciously release them. You can invoke the light forces to consciously release the covert contracts, enslavement. I've been in touch with somebody who's reclaimed their soul sovereignty and physical sovereignty on the planet in this country. And this is to do with the unjust law, man-made laws that are actually, again, harnessing our energy. This is to do with the spiritual warfare, but it totally connects into all of these entanglements that we're talking about. So I'm going to have a series of interviews with this person who's successfully done it. And then I imagine the vision that I have is that people will come to meet us and be able to reclaim their sovereignty via the work that he's doing. Because now he's done it for himself. He's going to be able to offer that as a service for us, for all of us. And then the other contact I have, again, is someone who can actually, on the soul level, and then it will work on the physical manifestation. That's why it's happening, because a lot of us have already gone through it. So now, as we've reclaimed our soul sovereignty, our beingness is becoming the reclaimed state. And so now we're moving into 3D reality, reclaiming our sovereignty, which means that these people that came and stole the land, it's not theirs. So what's happening now is that we're actually seeing the true, real humans who belong here, who it's their home. They're starting to be able to take back their land. That's in harmony. That's in alignment. The beings who know this and who resonate with this, you know who you are. And then the star beings are here to support their mission. Star beings are the ones that they're having memory. So I have a connection. There's earthlings who have very specific karmic memory of me in their life, and that is to do with the service that the star beings, so the star seeds, are here to provide. We've made contact with certain key figures on the planetary, leaders, rulers, but divine rulers, true leadership. I mean the men and women who are of the earth. They're not leaders, and they're not, for the most part, wealthy, rich people. They're innocent people. They're shire folk. They're farmers. They're earth workers. They're like us in the sense that they're wanderers. They've been cast aside completely because their energetic base tone doesn't sit with the corruption, right? They've just been living simply on the earth, and yet now we're starting to connect. That's happening in my reality anyway. Slowly but surely, these people are finding me, and they feel the connection. They're feeling the pull, and they know that I know what they're saying. They know that I understand what they're talking about because they've been they've been anchoring their reconnection point. They've been anchoring in so profound, and now it's time to really level up and start to show up for each other. And this is what's happening. It's really happening for sure. Okay, I'm gonna go, you guys. How's the hair? I randomly dyed it this morning. Can you see that it's a little bit more blonde? Oh. Yeah, the land is returning home, right? And you guys know all of it. So when you do the revocations, do you have to pay taxes? That's a choice. It's always a choice, Lynn. I still do. I'll pay council taxes, but when I've bottomed out financially, I'll just ignore it completely. Normally, intuition will guide you. So if there's times where you just don't have the money to pay taxes, just don't pay it. Just ignore the system in that regard. All of us will have different potential karmic clearings around that as well. Like we might have debt to pay off to the system. I don't know. I do. I still have to pay off that debt, but I can also see how I'm continuing now to be supported to up-level it. And that me paying off the debt is also part of clearing the karma. So even though it might look like, oh, I'm indebted to the system, no, that's just me paying it off and going, yay, now I get to go free. Now I get to go be free, right? So it's not, that's what I mean about letting go of this, like, fight the system sucks. No, we're one with it. We're in ebb and flow with it, right? And so we can only really truly harmonize it by healing it, by healing our relationship with it, by healing our connection to it, you know? Hey, Fifth! How are you, chica? Love you guys. However, Lynn, this is for sure the direction. Lynn's actually asked about paying taxes. When I spoke to, like, Sasha Stone, and here's the thing, you guys. If every human on the planet stopped paying taxes, then the system of control and domination would cease to exist. If every single human sat down and just stopped going to work and stopped being busy, we would literally solve all the problems. Right? An awakening. Like, an awakening is that more and more people see through the veil of the system so that it ceases to exist. More and more of us just focus on our freedom, the enslavement ceases to exist. Then we shine that, we show that to one another, right? It is a mental prison. That's the weirdest headfuck about all this. It's not out there. It's only in our conceptual reality. It's only in the reality that we've conceived of and perceived for however long we've been doing this dance, right? And now we're just breaking free. Anyway, randomly I'm getting that my power is going to go. it's flashed me a couple of times already. So I'm gonna say sayonara. I have so much love for you guys. I really, 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 really appreciate you being here. If that resonated, if you enjoyed it, please feel free to donate to the channel. It really helps me out. Book sessions. You're welcome to negotiate price points if you need to, you guys. Please feel free to do so. And book a intuitive tarot reading. They're going really well, and I'm really, really loving the work. Thank you for being here, you guys. About that. Thanks. Thank you, Megan. Well, we're doing it. And I would say it's all pure intuition, that we're unraveling it just by living it. That even us thinking we have to do anything is weirdly an illusion as well. We are the beingness, you know? It's just relaxing into it. Such a paradoxical head mess, really. But I know that you guys feel it, that you get it, that you're doing the work, and I'm just so proud of us, but not in a weird ego way, in a truly heartfelt, like, yay! Like, we're doing it, you guys! We're doing it! Right? So I just have so much love for you. I hope to get to meet you in Morocco, or maybe some of you are going to come to Portugal this summer. And I'm just so blessed to be alive at this time. And I'm so proud of us for, like, getting through everything we've gotten through, and for I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is that a song? I'm still standing. Is it? Or is that another lyric? Doobity boop boop boo boo boo. Boo boop doop doop doobie doo. I don't know what I swear to God, this is telepathy for you, because I have a feeling that sometimes I say things or I'm vibrating something that you guys are doing. That's like legit. Yep, it's a song. So like one of you is like, get that on the, is like in the background, or like what happened yesterday, 2 days ago, where I got this weird sense of something, and then I was like, that must be something vibrating in the ether of somebody either watching the channel or yeah, exactly. It's John Beatty is infiltrating the Ultra Love TV, and I don't think he's here because he would normally say hi. Plus, in the UK, you guys, it is literally like 3:45, so John's probably still sleeping. But yeah, it's like we've just channeled the essence of John, and he's bringing the music to us. So group telepathy is strong, Dave, and you guys know it, and I know it, and it's all contained in love. And I'm so freaking thankful for you guys. Like, I just can't even, the words don't do it justice at all. There's no words for like this feelings. It's just like, oh God, I love life. I love you guys. Thank you so much for showing up in my reality. It's made it so much nicer than where I've been. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Have a glorious day, night, evening, wherever you are. Infinite existence, you know all that. Love you guys. Bye.